Have you been feeling this really weird, trippy, interesting, intense, crazy energy that we're going through right now? It's really, really weird, and I'm going to explain a little bit of what I feel is going on energetically. But it's really interesting. It feels like, the solar eclipse, it has only been the gateway, kind of that window of what is just going to emerge right now. And it's really like that portal, right, that just opened up, and now we're entering this really, really interesting, mysterious cycle that is going to emerge till the end of this year, I would say. The very first thing that I want to speak into, it really feels like this destabilizing foundation. And everything that I'm speaking into here is really like this collective theme, but you can see it ripple out micro, macro into your own personal life. And so the first one, right, that destabilizing foundation, because it feels like we're standing in a very, we're not anchored in one timeline yet. It feels like we're standing on a foundation that's very shaky, that's very destabilizing and unstable, because there's all these different overlapping timelines, and we don't know which timeline is actually we're being anchored into, because underneath that foundation there's just so many different changes that are happening on a fundamental and radical level very, very fast. And it's really this unstable, like literally, like what I'm seeing, like imagine like an earth, right, the foundation, and there's just all these shaking platforms that are happening, and it feels very ungrounding in that sense and very destabilizing. But at the same time, another aspect of that is because there's a heightening of our sensitivity to this multidimensional existence. There's a heightening of our sensitivity. So we're feeling like we're plugging in more and more into this quantum existence that is really living outside of time and space. And I'm going even deeper into how that could be felt, or that could be expressed in your own individual reality. But what happened, because we have that heightened sensitivity, is that we could feel more that destabilization, because if everything is amplified and fortified and heightened, so you see yourself as you have your core energy, but then there's just all these different changes and all these different energies that are being manifested. And what happens is that they're as if they're coming at you, because they're not really coming at you, but you're just in them. You're just connected to them on a much more deeper level. So because you're connected to them and you're absorbing and feeling them even more, you can feel like you're just very easily taken out of your core and feeling very deeply, or experiencing very deeply, that dimension, that existence, that energy that has just happened, and that is really, you can see it like on a personal level, whether it could be with, it could be really, first of all, it could be internal. So you find yourself that you're just shifting all of a sudden from your core because of specific thought or something else that just happened internally, like an internal shift within you, and that just completely destabilized you from being very connected and anchored into your core, into that dimension, and all of a sudden you've been pulled into a different dimension. But it could also be in your closest environment, so like the interactions you're having around you, or even it could be even connecting to a more of a collective scale, that you could be feeling like just very random shifts of energies happening in you, and you just don't understand what's happening, because you're connecting to that frame of like an unclarity of like which timeline, what is going to happen. And we see that what is going to happen for us as humanity, where are we going on a human collective scale, but also where are we going individually. And I spoke about this in I recommend those videos that I've done, actually, the 2024 energy update, but also the one of the solar eclipse specifically, because they're still leaking or overlapping into what I'm saying right now. And you may understand a little bit more of those different themes. Now, the thing is, as I'm saying this, I'm noticing that actually there is the macro, the bigger timeline on a bigger scale is clear, even for yourself. You know, what you want to call is the destiny, is that you know eventually where, let's say if you want to call it on a bigger scale, is that evolution that is happening, that growth, that line, that goal, that end goal is there. So that is the bigger timeline, and that is, of course, it's anchored. Like there's no going back. It's kind of, you think of yourself like, can you go back from your awakening? You can't. So the awakening timeline is there. You're there. You're just you are in that train. You can't step out of the train. What I'm referring to is more of those micro timelines within that bigger timeline that are more on a shorter term. So not like the long term, you know, lifetime kind of timeline, but it's more of those smaller timelines that are more of like maybe a day-to-day basis, a month-to-month basis, a yearly basis. Like there's going to be a lot of shifts. It's like really we're like in that rocky terrain in terms of those mini micro timelines, and knowing like that direction of where are we going. So if you're feeling that destabilization, first of all, know that it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. This is very important. There's nothing wrong with you. We are stepping into a completely new territory of how things operate, how our psyche operates, how our energy operates, how our mind-body matrix operates. This is completely new. It's like if we had we have no guideline. Like even, you know, even if we were to look back into, you know, those ancient teachings, we have some sort of maybe a frame of like a little bit of a basis of like, okay, advice or tools. Okay, like when these things happen, that's what you could do. But what we're experiencing right now as this evolution, as this huge shift into a completely quantum and multidimensional existence, within, I'm not saying that, you know, the ancient civilization or the ancient China or the ancient history weren't living like that. They were, but it was a different context. It was a different circumstance. What we're going through is moving from a complete dense existence and manipulative and deceptive creation to stepping into very strongly into that shift of remembrance of how things actually operate. This is different. That's why we cannot compare. It's bringing in a bit of that theme of density, of like that depressive state, a little bit of that depressive tone of like, what is the purpose? What is our purpose here? And I spoke about this in that video that I'm going to tag if you haven't watched that, is because there's going to be what used to work is no longer going to work. That's why that reference points of comparing to the past is not going to work. What used to work is no longer going to work. Whether it's foundations, tools, systems that you used to use, there might be a refinement of them. It might not be a complete shift. So it's the same with our roles. It's the same with our purpose. It's the same with our vision. It's the same with our dreams. All of that is taking a new tone. All of that is being refined. Because we are not detached, we are literally an ecosystem. And as much as we want to think that we are separate and we have our own individual path, we do, but we are part of a bigger ecosystem. So the dreams, the desires, the systems that used to work, your role, your purpose, all of that is taking a new expression. And it's taking a new expression in a very strong, mature way, but also in a way that is based on that change of platform, because now a new skill set is being asked to come through. But that skill set, again, is not necessarily like a skill set of like your work or your career. It could be a skill set of anything, any dimension of your life that may be required to come through. And it could be an internal skill set of yourself on how to navigate those times and those realities. They're all coming through right now for you. So that very tone of depression, of purpose. What is our purpose? This unclarity, what is our purpose? Where are we heading? What is our direction? Where are we going? What is my role here? And I'm noticing that a lot of, called light workers, shadow workers, new earth leaders, like, I like to combine all of that into the conscious leaders, the conscious way showers, the conscious people out there that are being the pioneers of this path. Asking this theme, what am I doing here? And the thing is that if you're being attached to what you've been doing, there's going to be a lot of resistance there, because there is a change. And of course, it doesn't mean that you have to let go of everything that you've done before. Again, what I'm saying, it's a new expression that wants to come through, a new tone, a new touch. So now that's going to lead me to the quantum and multidimensional existence versus being more in that energy that is supporting the day-to-day creation, that is supporting the day-to-day construction. So when we're experiencing those waves of being, experiencing like in our present, day-to-day consciousness, that being out of time and space, and that very strong quantum multidimensional existence, what happens is that it's a time where we're not being supported so much to construct and to build our day-to-day frame, our day-to-day blueprint. Instead, we're being pushed to clear a lot of the quantum stuff, to clear a lot of the past things, the ancestral things, the lineage things, a lot of that maybe DNA traumas, a lot of those things, whether it's personal, individual, or ancestral. So why it's actually quantum? Because in that moment, instead you're being pushed to come out and experience, but it doesn't necessarily that you're doing it on a conscious level. It's happening unconsciously, although in your day-to-day you're experiencing it. So how you could actually feel it, whether you're aware that it's, happening ancestrally, is that you start feeling a lot of patterns coming up. And I want to call it here is that this very huge purge of curses. A curse is something, for me, is something that is, you feel that you're bounded to. It's something that you feel you're imprisoned in. You're not able to consciously choose yourself out of it. It's like a prison, it's a bound, it's chained, it's chaining, it's literally, it's chains. It's something from the past that is chaining you, and that is bounding you to your present reality, and you can't feel like you're escaping it, and you're just very unawarely experiencing it, and you're like, but why am I experiencing this? Like, what's going on? It could be a behavior, it could be a thought pattern, it could be emotions that are just coming back, and you're just moving through them, and you're without your control. And the thing is, that's what's happening, is that now this energy is pushing us to actually face those curses, those unconscious, whether collective, it could be also ancestral, a lot of ancestral stuff, a lot of grandmother, grandfather, lineage things that are coming through to be able to be broken down. So that same, if we're looking at an ancestral curse, what it could be something that your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother has experienced. It's the same experience over and over again. And you notice yourself experiencing that same pattern. And you're like, but why am I, like, I am different. I'm different than my mom, I'm in a different circumstance, but yet that same experiencing is playing itself again in your reality. And it could be anything, it could be it could be in a thought pattern, it could be in a program that's playing out, or it could be in a situation that you're feeling, whoa, like I feel the same thing has happened to my mom. But it could be that it's not necessarily that very hard, it could be that it's that very hard-coded reality that is repeating itself, or it could be that it's just a glimpse where that pattern is coming back and you're feeling very strong emotions that your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother were also feeling. It's the same thing as, when they say like genetics in science, like you're bounded by your genetics. You're on a physical level, right? And we know that now, like epigenetics is coming to say, well, not really, you can change it, you're not bounded by it, but you take you take a specific tone of it, and then you, by the conscious choice, you choose to change it. This is the same thing on an energetic level. So the ancestral stuff that are coming up, you're not bounded by them, but on some level, you've taken them on a DNA and cellular level, and they're coming actually to be released. Now, this is very intense if you think about it. It's very intense because by you feeling it, experiencing it, seeing it, and harnessing it, this is a very strong emotional time. And that is the thing why I'm saying it's quantum and multidimensional, because instead of actually just being in the third dimensional existence right now where you're just doing your day-to-day, which sometimes are very supportive. We need that energy sometimes. We're like, okay, it's like I don't want to be experiencing those other existences, etheric existences. I want to be grounded in my day-to-day. And sometimes those energies support us. But right now, we're more in this, where there's a lot of that clearing of that internal matrix that is actually functioning. Now I'm going to end it actually with something that is, I was picking up on the codes that were coming through the eclipse. And I feel it's very important. This message is just a very broad message, and it's up to you to see how you're going to receive it or interpret it in your own way. But basically, we know that there is this very huge split on Earth, and that's why we say like there's those two Earths. But the thing is that it's not like a physical Earth. It's an experience. It's a different dimensional existence and reality. It's not like you're needing to ascend somewhere or descend somewhere. It's just the split is very clear, and I'm going to explain in what sense. You've been experiencing it as well. So the thing is that there's this divine blueprint, this original blueprint, the original blueprint that is in this reality, in this realm, that we also have within us, is divine. And that is why deep inside you, you know that there is this God spark, this divine spark inside you. The same thing, so we have it within us, but we also have it within that matrix. So the original matrix is the creation matrix, is God's matrix, is divine matrix. And it's original. It's original in its form. Now what happened is that then there was this overlay of that divine grid into the prison, the false matrix, the inverted matrix, the demonic matrix, whatever you want to call it. Now the thing is why it's a very strong split, because we know that humanity is experiencing this contrast. There's part of humanity, and I don't want to say that they are in the prison, but we're not. I think that is also bypassing, because we all are in the prison in some way. If you were born in this time, your lineage, your karma, you have your lineage and your ancestry that has experienced that density, you have it within your DNA, you're living within that matrix, within that frame. So in some way, you are part of the prison. Now it's up to you to choose if you want to plug into that grid or you want to plug into the divine blueprint grid. I'm going to explain a little bit more. But that is the split. So the split is very strong. We know it already, that there's those people that are completely asleep and ignorant to that existence. And so what they're doing is that they're experiencing more than probably we are. They're experiencing fully the game. They're fully experiencing the false matrix. They're characters in that matrix, and they just believe that they don't know that they are. They don't know that they are, and it's very painful. I'm saying that, like, that's very painful, and that's why many of us, or maybe you're like, we gotta tell everybody. The moment we woke up to the truth, we're gonna tell everybody. Let's awaken. Let's bring everybody to join us and wake up, so that we can wake up from this illusion. But it's not really the truth, or it's not really the reality for many of us, and it's painful. But there's that part of humanity that is fully experiencing the density, that is fully experiencing there being characters in that game, in that full game of deception, of manipulation. Many of them really are victims to that experience. With all the horror that we're seeing play out in the world, we can't bypass that either. They really are. You know, it's like the enslavement. It's like a slavery. It's being enslaved. And then there's others that believe that they are on top of the game when actually they're not, but they're more into that allure and the illusion and believing that they're living it, more of that Sims world, that Sims reality, just because they have power or they have money or they have whatever it is they believe they have, but they're actually just also characters in that game. And they're all, either both sides are being harnessed by, their energy is being harnessed. How can we better we can't put it any better way. But this is true. This is actually is happening. Now the thing is that in this year, there's going to be more of an amplification of that game. Much more. We're going to see more and more and more narratives playing out. More and more crazy things going down. A lot of narratives. It's like kind of as if you put like, let's make the game even more hot. Let's just amplify the game to make it hotter and make it more like, more spicy. I know it's for the game makers, game creators, that's how they see it. Let's spice things up a little bit more. But there's going to be a lot of narratives that are going to play out a lot more and more and more and more and more. And it's very important now that's going to lead me to this is that is the choice that we have to make. It's going to be a very important choice. What changes can we possibly make and choose to get ourselves to connect in every moment, in every day, into the divine, the original divine blueprint, and not take part of those narratives. Not take part of those narratives. That doesn't mean that you're not feeling it. You're not maybe, perhaps there could be some actions that need to be taken. If some people that you love and you're involved with are into that game, you can. But I'm saying with yourself in your reality, then again, that's what I'm saying, this is very personal to you. What changes can you make to support yourself to plug into that divine blueprint? And that could be maybe a relocation, it could be a change of lifestyle, some sort. That's what I'm saying, it's very big time of big changes. But the message that came through is that it's very important right now to choose to actively choose to plug into the divine original blueprint, as the narratives and as the prison is going to get more, they're going to like just, heighten their play or whatever it is. Like what can we do? What can you actually do to make that happen? And remembrance that the narratives could not necessarily be in the collective scheme of things. It could be, but it could also be those threads that I was talking about that are linked to those ancestral and lineage curses that need to be released. And maybe unconsciously you're choosing to play those narratives and to connect to that to that false matrix. And if you feel that you need that support, that activation towards releasing those heavy dark threads in the narratives, in the patterns, you feel like you want to have that expansion of awareness towards what's happening with you, you feel you need guidance to know what decisions or what actions you can actually take moving forward in those difficult times, reach out to me for one-on-one. And also don't forget to please like, share, and subscribe, because that would support my channel and that would support me to do more and more of that. Okay, much love to all, and just keep holding on. We're in for the ride together.